Five friends sit around the table. They are all unique as they are similar and only in ways that they have never considered. The voice that spoke about the countryside pauses her story. She walks around the table. The dragon blood candle no longer burns, and the one who brought it is now gone. There is silence among the friends. Excitement and fear fills them all. The ritual is happening exactly the way it should be, but the reassurance that things are happening the way they're supposed to doesn't make the situation less anxious. Things can go exactly according to plan and still be a dangerous plan. A hand rests on the friend's shoulders, all of their shoulders at the same time. To Dylan, it feels familiar. The same hands of his grandfather, a hand that was calloused and tired, but it had a lot of strength. A familiar ring rests on his right hand, identical to the ring on Dylan's right hand. Dylan smiles, comforted by this presence. Autumn feels her sister's parents' hands on her shoulders. The hands on her shoulders are soft as a summer breeze and as hot as a firestorm. The hands that know a lot of strength and power, but are also strong enough to be gentle. She knows these hands well, but in a way, it is always a bit uncomfortable to have them on her shoulders. They're supposed to be her parents too, but even if they're related by blood, her sister's parents never quite felt like her own parents. More like kind strangers that she sees every day. Summer feels her sister's parents' hands on her shoulders. The hands are icy and freezing, practically skeletal and deadly. The hands are fragile, so brittle and traitorous they may shatter just by touching her skin. A type of weakness where it was just weak enough to be a threat, eager to strike the moment it senses weakness. The cold touch that always makes Summer's skin crawl, frostbitten and biting into her skin as her breath froze underneath the cold touch. Careful to breathe cautiously enough to avoid angering the hands on her shoulders. No matter how many times those hands touched her, she would always be frightened of them. Kel feels a small hand on his shoulder, cold, clammy, lifeless, the hand of his brother. He smiles, feeling the small hand on his back, and he is comforted by all of the warm times that came with those cold, clammy hands. The amount of good in his life is thanks to his brother, but he is okay just listening and feeling the small hand on his shoulder. It is good to know his brother is with him now. Many people would find a reminder of their dead sibling as a dark memory, or at least bittersweet. But in Kel's eyes, those cold hands would always be a comfort, and he was glad to be listening with his brother at his back. As for fallen Grace, hers was the strangest. She was expecting to feel her father's hand on her shoulders, or even her ex-friend Manic Dream grasping at her shoulders, and she tensed in anticipation. Instead, she felt a very delicate pressure on her shoulder slightly untensed, not sure if it was a trick or something unfamiliar. But no trick, just a very delicate pressure on her left shoulder, a touch that she never felt in her life, but one that she felt she was missing her entire life. So much love in such a small touch, one that is delicate, not because she's delicate, but because it wanted to be delicate. She wanted to lift her hand to the pressure, and her hand twitched, only to feel a slight twitch. A bit of her hair pulled back behind her ear, and Fallen Grace got the message. Not yet. Friends listened as they now smelled the caramel candle, listening to the voices behind them whispering in their ears. All but one of them recognized the voices behind them. All of them heard a unique voice, but all of the voices spoke as one, and all told the same story in the flickering candlelight as the next treat vanished. Falling Grace hears the voice whisper softly in her ear, and she feels her heart ache in a way she didn't know her heart could ache. She's missing someone she's never met, and already she knows that she is out there somewhere. She listens raptly to the story as the candles flicker. Four friends remain. Two observers watch, both unseen but felt by all. The Railyard used to connect all places. After the event, it went from the lifeblood to the Empire to the lifeline of the Empire. Massive, marvelous machines still worked in the Railyard. Machines to fix trains, machines to provide power, machines to lift crates into and out of trains, and of course the factories to make all of the manufactured items. The factories still run almost non-stop, trying to make just a little more for the countryside before the city collapses entirely. There are still survivors, still people who need to be saved from the event. The machines in the factories are dangerous, but it's the only way to get out of the rail yard is to sneak by them safely. And even though the rail yard is safer than the mine and the city, it isn't safe. The enemy has made their way to the rail yard and they have begun to adapt machines to themselves. It takes time and it takes patience, but they are merging with the machines. In some of the warehouses, you might find lights that are overgrown with flesh. The wires are replaced by blood vessels, where the workers are now the enemy, tied permanently into where they work, connecting metal to flesh that they pull from their own bodies. Where if a body rolls down the assembly line, it is disassembled for parts, but it isn't allowed to die. The parts are kept by the workers until it is needed. If you are quiet, you may sneak by them. The workers care about their work and will harm anyone who tries to stop them. It isn't the workers you should worry about, but the overseers. Constructed out of metal and recycled flesh of the fallen enemy, overseers wander with whips made of spine and rust, eager to harm anyone who comes near them. Their eyes are mechanical, electronic, flesh and amalgam. Nothing escapes their eyes. Whatever they choose to watch is something they can see. If they can see you, they can hurt you. Lumbering under a ton of flesh and metal, they will eviscerate a human in a single blow. And when they do, they will use your flesh in the factory and not even give you the dignity of death. The best way to avoid their eyes and their ire is to draw their attention somewhere else with a powerful distraction. If you escape the factory, you may find many other wandering beasts and creatures that now prowl the rail yard. You can see the enemy that used to be human, or maybe animals before they drank the mutagenic water. A few have drank so much that they have merged with other living things into a massive, monstrous mutation. These shambling remains are made mad from the merged minds between human and beast, creatures in agony that seek to end their own agony and to spread it among others. If you see faces or voices you recognize, you need to keep moving. These shambling remains seek to spread their agony. They may not move quickly, but they have mutated the means to spit the brackish mutagen out of their bodies onto anyone who is nearby. You may find friendly monsters nearby, but most are busy. And if they know your end goal, they would do everything in their power to stop you from reaching your goal. There is a trick to using the rail yard to get closer to the city. If you go after the trains that are the most modern and the most powerful, they will not let you on board. Even if they think you're a monster, they're too busy evacuating humanity from the city. The monsters here are not so easily tricked, and they will fight other monsters to keep humanity safe. The biggest train they use is a massive train that can travel to the city and back in mere minutes. A massive Goliath by the name of Skid Blood Near, so named because it can travel anywhere and it will always reach its destination safely, and it can be safely disassembled when not in use. A useful trick when you are pursued by the enemy. You may be tempted to try the old train, more museum pieces than vehicles, but they still work, so surely you can use them in your mission to make it to the city. Except, the old trains have been taken over by the enemy. Many of them disassembled and merged into the largest train. A massive behemoth that can travel on the tracks, or it can get up and walk away from the tracks. A terrifying tyrannical titan of the tracks, the Dreadnought. So named because no weapon can destroy it, and any who try to fight it will die trying. The Dreadnought is made from metal, flesh, machine, man, monster, and might. The Dreadnought patrols the tracks, and if you hear the screech of metal and mouth, hide. The Dreadnought hungers, and it cannot tell the difference between metal and flesh, nor does it care. It only cares about feeding and carrying more of the enemy from the city to the Railyard. If you see eyes of glass, the smokestack of bone, the teeth made from railroad spikes, and a cattle guard made from tongue, you know the Dreadnought nears. The Dreadnought is the greatest danger of the Railyard and makes most of the tracks dangerous to leave on. So if you want to escape safely, you'll need to get creative. There is a single track, overgrown with weeds and grass. It isn't noticed by most, and the enemy will not think to use it because the track doesn't lead to the city. Not directly, at least. It leads to a small and remote radio station, one that transmits music, directions, and hope from the countryside to the city. This thin connection can only be reached by a very small train that connects the two. The train is so small that it only has an engine and a single car, a train by the name of Broad Bottom Bucket. The engineer on the train will ask for a favor in exchange for their service to reach the radio station. The engineer is a skeletal figure, one who has candles in their eyes, small tea candles, and maybe there is something familiar about the engineer to one of you. What the favor the engineer may ask will vary wildly. He may ask for you to help conduct his train. He may ask for you to obtain fuel for his engine. He may ask you a riddle, or he may only ask for you to have a good trip to the radio station. Whatever the engineer asks from you, you will have to provide. Despite his thin frame and lack of muscles, he is plenty strong enough to throw you from the train down the tracks where you will never be found. The tracks to the radio station are often called the never found tracks. Not just because the tracks are hard to find, but if you're not on the broad bottom bucket, you will never be found. Not alive, not dead, not in between, not in pieces, and not whole. You are simply never found. Whatever fate lies on the never found tracks is wholly unknown, but it is fairly certain that it will not be pleasant. But if you can keep your hopes up and looking forward, you can see the radio station ahead, transmitting the message of hope. As long as you keep looking forward, you'll hear the sound of music and stories of heroism. As long as you keep looking forward, you'll know that there is a stop for the broad bottom bucket, and that you are led away from the known dangers of the rail yards, over the unknown dangers of the never found tracks, to the safety of the radio station. As long as you keep looking forward, you won't have to spare a single thought about the rail yard, nor everyone you left behind. If you look backwards, though, keep looking forward, and you won't have to find out.